If you owned an Xbox 360 in the year 2007, it's very possible you played a little game we all know as Halo 3. And if you experienced Halo 3 in its glory days, in the golden age of Xbox Live, then you can consider yourself one of the lucky ones. Halo 3 is a game... Jesus, I'm getting fucking choked up already talking about this shit. Halo 3 is a game I hold incredibly close to my heart. It was a game I played a lot in my childhood, and a game I played so much growing up. And in those formative years, through Halo 3, I was able to make so many memories with so many friends, and it's just great to be able to look back on them and appreciate what we had at the time. Now, I was very young when Halo 3 came out. I was 6 years old. I'm 20 now. I just turned 20 last month. And it's just insane to me that I still have these vivid memories of getting home from school and going on my Xbox 360 straight away and playing Halo 3, either on my own or going on custom games with friends or just doing whatever. It was just one of those games where once you start playing it, the rest of the evening just completely drifts away. I just have this really distinct memory of getting back from school on a summer's day and going straight into the back room and turning on my 360 and playing some Halo 3 and just being so happy and content with that. As you get into adulthood, it gets more and more difficult to feel those feelings of contentment and satisfaction. So the fact that I can boot up Halo 3 14 years later and feel those feelings, it's very powerful, I think. Which is why it came as big news to me that this year in December, the original legacy servers for Halo 3 will be shutting down forever. And Jesus, saying those words, it chokes me up, which some of you may find weird, that I'm getting choked up over a 14-year-old video game. But to me, the absence of the original Halo 3's online community, the absence of those original legacy servers, it's almost like saying goodbye to a piece of my childhood. Those good old days when I'd get home from school and load up my 360 and put in Halo 3, they were immortalized in a way in these small spaces in the Halo 3 servers. Whereas this year when they turn them off, it's almost like none of it ever happened. So today I thought I'd record this little video and try to put into words why Halo 3 was so special to me. To recount those old days when I was just a kid, just enjoying video games for what they were. Well, it pains me to say these words, but nearly 14 years after the game came out, after all those years of Slayer, teabagging, machinimas, forge maps, custom games, trying to get recon, after all those years of Griffball, Team SWAT, trying to get on Bungie favorites, and just having an all-round amazing time on this game. After all this time, it's time to say goodbye to our old friend, Halo 3.
this is the way the world ends.
If you couldn't already tell, that video was the initial E3 reaction to the reveal of Halo 3 in 2006. Now, the reason why I showed you this video is to show you the point at which the community had reached just before the release of Halo 3. Bungie had been cultivating this online community through the multiplayer components of both Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2, and I don't think anyone quite knew just how huge Halo 3 was going to be, and what it was going to do for the Halo Online community. The one thing that Bungie knows how to do better than any other developer is to cultivate a community of players that interact with one another and interact with the developers. Even since they created Destiny in 2014, they've still had a brilliant community. I really enjoyed my time playing the first Destiny game, and I met a lot of people that I wouldn't have met if it wasn't thanks to the community that Bungie were able to cultivate for that game. But nothing ever comes close to the online presence of Halo 3's community in 2007. In fact, Bungie's vision of Halo 3 was so geared around community that they introduced the file share, which means you could share screenshots that you took in theater mode, you could share game modes and maps that you made in Forge, you could share clips, whatever you wanted. And not only this, but you could get onto a special page called Bungie Favorites, where Bungie employees would take screenshots, game modes, maps, whatever from people's file share and upload it to this database of special Bungie favorites. And whoever was lucky enough to get onto Bungie favorites was awarded with the legendary Recon armor, which was very, very rare back in the day. You see everyone running around with it these days, but back in the day, you had to do something extraordinary to get that armor. Speaking of file shares and map modes and game modes and clips and screenshots, it's quite sad news that recently halo.bungie.net went offline, which means all of our old file shares are completely gone. Now, I wish I could show you some of the amazing screenshots that I had on my old Halo 3 file share, like the edgy screenshots that I made when they first brought out filters in Forge mode, where I tried to make my character look like this edgy Spartan, or when I first got Recon and I was so proud that I was able to get that legendary piece of armor legitimately, or when funny things would happen in games and you'd immediately back out and go back into theater mode to rewatch it, and you'd make a clip of it and put it on your file share, or when I'd made a map when I thought I'd completely beat Bungie and found a way to get out of Foundry with teleporters. Like, there's so many memories of things that we did on Halo 3 that were just dumb, that we would all sort of just instinctively document on our file shares, and it's all gone. All of that, it's completely gone now. There's no way of you getting back to it. And soon enough this year in December, that'll be the case for the entirety of the original legacy of Halo 3, leaving only the Master Chief Collection version remaining. Now, that's okay, I'm fine with that. I really like the Master Chief Collection. I think it's an amazing way of immortalizing these beloved Halo games. And let's be honest, the Xbox 360's lifespan wasn't gonna be forever in the first place, so it's very intelligent to move it over to PC, update the games so they run at a higher frame rate and look a little nicer. But there's something about that absence of the original Halo 3 that it's sad, it is sad, that you'll never be able to pick up an Xbox 360 controller again, turn on your old whirring 360 and play some games of Social Slayer on the original Halo 3. There's just something about the fact that we won't be able to do that anymore. It's weird, it's a weird feeling. Even though I don't even really play Halo 3 on the 360 anymore, if I'm being honest. I play Halo on PC because I like those high frame rates and I like the higher FOV, but back in the day, that chunky Xbox 360 controller, that physical copy of Halo 3, and that Xbox 360 was all we had. In the golden age of Xbox Live on the Xbox 360, there was nothing better than Halo 3. It was an experience that exchanged the boredom in my childish mind into wonder, and most importantly, into community and fun. And now it's time to say goodbye to it. So we've established that Halo 3 was a massive part of the online community of Halo, and a massive part of Xbox Live's development in the early 2000s. But what was Halo 3 to me? I was around 7 or 8 when I actually got this game. I didn't get it upon release because I didn't have an Xbox 360. But lo and behold, Christmas 2007 or 2008, something like that. My older brother, James, a lot of you are familiar with him obviously, he got an Xbox 360 for Christmas, and we got a few games. We got Call of Duty 4, Assassin's Creed, a few throwaway random release titles for the 360. But amongst those games was Halo 3. And from that point on, we would pretty much play Halo 3 all day, every day, for as long as we could on split screen, playing custom games, team doubles, social slayer, making bases on Forge. There was so much stuff we'd do, and it was just because we happened to get Halo 3 that one year randomly with the Xbox 360. If we didn't, I doubt Halo would have ever appealed to us. I would have gotten into Halo very late. But I think I speak for both of us when I say that we look back on those years playing Halo 3 with very fond memories. I mean, Halo 3 multiplayer was my first real experience of an online community, and that's kind of crazy to say because it was so long ago at this point and I was so young. Halo 3 was also, without a doubt, the first game that got me interested in YouTube content around video games. Halo 3 machinimas at the time were so popular, with stuff like Deus Ex Machina, The Forgotten Spartans, Red vs. Blue, and my personal favourite that I'm sure many of you watched back in the day, Arby and the Chief. There were these huge machinima shows that were produced entirely in the theatre mode of Halo 3, and they kept me absolutely encapsulated. So much so that me and James and some childhood friends had many stabs at creating our own Halo 3 machinimas and videos, and they weren't the best content ever, but it was really fun to sort of do that with a group of people and organize something and try and make our own Halo 3 machinimas, whether that be comedy or story based or just a silly video to put up on the internet. And personally, I think if it wasn't for those experiences making those terrible Halo 3 machinimas back in the day, I wouldn't have had the same interest in making content that I do to this day. It was a very formative experience. On top of fucking around and making terrible machinimas, we also played a lot of custom games. Now, custom games on Halo 3, many of you probably remember very fondly. There were some very creative game modes made in the custom games section, but most importantly, most of these custom game variants were created by editing the base game traits of Infected. Infected allowed for many forms of mini-games that people created over the years. Just a few being Fat Kid, where you'd have one alpha infected that's nearly invincible, trying to get to the end of this long winding passageway. Duck Hunt, where you'd have hunters in this high box overlooking an obstacle course, where you'd have a bunch of players trying to get through to the end so you could then kill the hunters yourself. There was also Cops and Robbers, where you do extensive roleplay throughout this little town that was set up inside of Foundry, and if you were caught doing something wrong or immoral, you'd be put in prison. And this caused some very interesting games where some people that were playing as the police would almost use their power as police officers to jail people wrongly, but likewise there were some really sneaky people that were playing as the robbers, and I don't know, it was just a really fun, pointless game mode that was just a laugh. And here's one for the really old fans of Halo 3, and that's Sandtrap Zombies. Sandtrap was a classic Forge map on Halo 3 that I'm pretty sure everyone built on back in the day. It was my main map for building Forge maps, and I absolutely loved it. Sandtrap Zombies took the concept of Sandtrap being one of the more big open maps that warranted vehicles, and then basically putting Infected on it. So if you were the zombie, you would practically be chasing around someone who's in a Warthog with someone on the turret, although you could kill everyone in one hit because you're using an energy sword. Not to mention that all the Infected had increased mobility and higher jump heights, which made it a little bit easier to chase the people in the Warthog. This was just so fun because if you weren't the Infected and you were in the Warthog, you would just be mowing people down left, right and center, and it felt like nobody could get to you at all. Although eventually you always get overwhelmed. Yeah, I've got some really fond memories of custom games in Halo 3. It was just brilliant. There was little competitive nature. It was just all about having fun with friends and just doing dumb shit and making these dumb maps, and I can't explain it. If you weren't there, you wouldn't understand it. But I'm sure the majority of you clicked on this video because you wanted to relive those days of nostalgia that seem so far away now. But it's alright, because as long as we remember the OG days of Halo 3, it can never truly die. Our memories and our personal experiences attached to this amazing game will live on forever. I could talk about Halo 3 for hours. I could talk about the extensive amount of nostalgia I have surrounding this game. But I think I'm just going to summarise what I think of the game in a few minutes. I don't want to overdo it with nostalgia, because that's something you can definitely do. To me, Halo 3 is the embodiment of those summer days you'd get home and throw on your 360 and just do a bit of casual gaming. Halo 3 is that longing for childhood innocence that you never thought you would lose. Halo 3 was long evenings with friends playing on Xbox a little bit past your bedtime. And Halo 3 was always in the back of your mind when you went to school the next day, because you couldn't wait to get back home and play it all over again. I guess what I'm trying to say is the original Halo 3 on Xbox 360 is a living remnant of those years where all you had to do was enjoy living. And it's a shame, but once you grow up, those are years that you can't get back to. They're locked behind time. And at least we can boot up the original Halo 3 on Xbox 360 now and relive some of those feelings. Whereas when the servers shut down this year, there'll be nothing left of those days anymore. And I guess that's what's so melancholy about this news, that Halo 3 servers will be sunsetting this year in December. It's like seeing an old rundown playground that you used to play at all the time as a kid in a state of disrepair being taken down and replaced with something else. It fills you with the sudden frantic longing to go back to those days, even though you know that's not possible in the slightest. And so I'll leave you with these words. Don't take any day for granted, because you'll never know when you'll be looking back on today, wishing that you could go back. I'm very thankful for the years I was able to spend with friends on Halo 3, and I'm even more thankful for you guys watching this video and supporting the channel. Anyways, that's me. See you later, guys. Take care.
Like you can see, this is me, Super Assassin, and we're going to show you how to do recon today. Yes, we are. So, better watch this, because we're showing you how to get recon. Watch this. You've been rickrolled! Haha. Maybe you should do something with your life. I'll do not Halo yet. But just do something other than trying to get recon. It takes forever. Just try and get on Bungie's favourite. That's all you need to do. This is a funny video. Yeah. He just shot me. Keep saying, my brother. That's not really his armor. He randomly chose that for random effects. Okay then. Goodbye, people.